Hi and welcome. I'm your host, Ala, a computer engineer at Cogent, and welcome to our first ever episode. A quick brief about us. We're a global technology company with offices in the US, Spain, and India. And our podcast is to reach people our offices can't. Today, I'm joined by Ryan Vandenberg, a 25-year-old Canadian filmmaker and videographer making waves in the industry right now. Hey, Ryan, welcome on board.
Hi, Allah. It's nice to be on here. This is actually the first podcast I've been invited on, so this is new ground for me. It'll be exciting.
Well, this is our first episode as well, and the first thing I want to talk to you about is your award-winning film, Doubles. You won the Young Filmmaker of the Year award at just the age of 18. Like this is so impressive. I want to know more about it and the process of making the film.
Oh yeah, no, it was a contest to basically make the best sort of like silent film or 1920s style silent film. And I kind of set out there. We kind of me and my brother, we kind of like pushed together, basically figured out like a good concept that we could basically make on like I don't want to say like the cheapest way possible, but totally the cheapest way possible. And with us MacGyvering like a set and like a few extra effects together, it came out really well, and I guess they really liked it.
Yeah, I mean I've seen the film. It's pretty interesting and it's really short and silent. So I don't understand the process of filmmaking, of course, but is it easier to make a film that is so quiet, or do you think it takes more work because there is no plot, there is nothing to actually gauge the people, rather than just what you have going on the screen?
Yeah, I feel like it's some ways like a lot of the pre-production can be a bit easier because you don't really need to write a proper script for the most part. But yeah, like doing that, it's definitely impressive thinking back to that era of like how they're able to convey stories just through like uh just like character like facial expressions and reactions, because once you have to impose those limits on yourself, it's definitely really makes you forces you to be creative, and it's definitely an interesting process to try to make a film like that.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you were making the film, you were like highly inspired by some other filmmaker, maybe some other film? Do you feel like your work
Yeah,
maybe
I
stems?
was looking at
Mhm.
the I think it was like the 1930 Jekyll and Hyde movie was like my big,
Mm,
because it was like the movie was about my movie was about like a guy being like chased by his doppelganger. Obvious inspiration for that to look at is like Jekyll and Hyde, and how you can like, because yeah, you look in that movie, like the character acting that guy does to play like two different versions of himself is like really
yeah,
impressive.
yeah. Wow. Well, I also wanted to ask about the music. You know how they say with horror movies or movies that are quite silent, the music is what really gauges you in, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, this is happening, it goes loud and like it freaks you out. Do you feel like you put more work on the sound rather than like the pictures themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the music uh really I tried to pick like a very dynamic soundtrack. Again, I
Yeah.
didn't have a composer. I kind of just found the best track I could find on Envato Elements. So, but yeah, it was a
Mm.
really good score because it had like a lot of moments of tension, and then like just kind of erupting in noise, which really worked, especially for some of the more
Yeah.
tense moments in the movie. So I feel like I was able to like I kind of cut it up a bit and use different parts of it, but I felt like I was able to use that track to the best effect I could.
Yeah, to be honest, like I was really like on edge listening to the sound of the video. It just makes you like, oh, what's next, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and where did you shoot the film?
Oh, yeah, in my basement with my pretty much. That was
So
all
this
on location in my house. Yeah.
so the movie was like full on like Ryan sponsored. Ryan's family, Ryan's basement. It was just like all
Yeah,
of
I pretty much
you.
I pretty much didn't have a budget for it. I'm honestly surprised I won, to be honest. But
Wow.
I guess they just like my creativity that much.
Yeah, well, I feel like the more organic and analog something is, the more humans are pushed to do something, out of the box. So this was
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like limitations breeds creativity and stuff like that.
yeah. And it's interesting because this is what we were talking about today. We're talking about how technology has integrated itself in our lives, and do we feel that at some point it controls us more than we control it? And it's the complete contrast of what you did with your movie that actually won, your film that won, is that you had none of that.
Hmm.
You did not use any AI, you did not use anything that automated the process for you. The first question I want to ask you is, do you feel at some point technology could replace us?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's definitely something that a lot of people in my field are thinking about a lot, especially over like the last year. Is I'm sure as a lot of you have heard, I'm sure a lot of listeners have heard is that like over the last year over in Hollywood, both the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America were both on strike at the same time, which is something's not happened since like 1960. And yeah, it's I was a lot of the concerns were over like over it was a lot of like wage and other stuff, but one of the big things especially became a contention of debate as the strikes went on were like, hey, are a lot of our jobs going to be replaced with AI, whether in the writing room or like AI digital rendering for actors and background doubles, like that sort of thing.
Hmm, I'm not sure, but you can confirm for me if I'm right. There was a loss of 45,000 jobs, I think, and 6.5 billion hit in Southern California's economy. Is that really true?
From what I've heard, yeah, that's about right.
Wow.
You know,
This is a very risky territory, you feel like.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like it's a sketchy thing because there's like just so many ways a studio could potentially like cut corners with like this whole AI thing. Like on the one side you've got stuff like the full body scans. You can just scan a person's face and like have a digital rendering of that person's face like imposed on somebody, and it's quite scary, especially I think I said it's for like background actors, because like if you have enough AI clone, if you have like digital AI scans of a person, you could just populate a scene that would usually you'd have to pay a bunch of extras like a ballroom scene or something like that, and
Mm.
you just fill it up with like digital extras and you don't have to feed or pay them.
Yeah, that's one way to actually think about it. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. Extras is such a huge part of filmmaking, I feel like. When in a lot of movies and TV shows, a lot of people get jobs, even if they're not like having their moments on the screen. They get jobs because they're just in the background. If we're able to automate that, then yeah, a lot of people would be out of jobs for real.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, because I noticed that, and I know like a lot of like people in the Writers Guild were concerned, like, hey, are you just going to use like Chat GPT to generate a script and just pay me to be the editor for it, or like are you going to actually want people? Are you gonna get out of like paying me less by doing that, by basically just making me
Mhm.
the glorified script editor instead of like a full screenwriter sort of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. What triggered that guild though? What triggered that strike?
artificial intelligence. Yeah, that was one of the main concerns of the strike. Yeah, was the whole well we were just talking about. Yeah, because like it's a pretty real thing like being put into practice right now. Because I know like what is it, that Marvel TV show that came out like last year, Secret
Mm.
Invasion. Like
Hmm.
the opening sequence for that was generated entirely with AI. So that's the jobs of several writers and not sorry, not writers, but artists and animators like out the window right there. You just pay like an AI, like I think I just paid like a company on like an AI algorithm, just generated for them instead.
Yeah, but do you feel like because it was pretty obvious that it's AI generated and a lot of people were offended by that, do you feel like, oh, well, that gives us comfort. There's no way AI could replace us because it's at this stage right now? Or is it, oh, like Disney trusts AI that much to put something out there completely automated? So maybe in a few years, we would not be able to tell the difference.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's just the fact that it's not.